Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Boston and Balling. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Unfortunately, we did get a little bit of rain for the holiday here where I am, but I hope everybody was able to make the most of it and still have cookouts and see family, friends, whatever else you did for the holiday, and maybe watch some baseball if you are like me and you love watching baseball on the 4th of July. So, hope everyone had a great week other than the holiday as well. I'm excited to bring you another episode of the show. I actually have a really cool guest with me on the show today. He is a professional rugby player for the New England Free Jacks, which, as some of you know, their games are super fun to attend. And if you don't know, definitely attend some of the games next season. So I'm happy to talk to him and have him on the show. Andrew Quattrin, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Gabby. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, happy 4th of July. Just going by. The neighbors up north, we have ours on July 1st, but I know it's a big deal down here. So happy 4th of July.
Yeah, I'm a little upset because I didn't get to see any fireworks this year. And I think because the weather here wasn't really that good for the holiday, people just weren't doing fireworks as much. So it was definitely a little bit of a disappointment for me.
We had them over at the house, which is quite funny. And the boys were coming in saying, "Oh, were they going all night?" And it was mostly like the Southern Hemisphere guys saying, "Oh, were they going all night like you guys?" We're like, "Yeah, yeah, they were." I just got the fan on in the room trying to drown out the sound, but no, it was. I wish we kind of got to see the full experience with like you said, cookouts, boats, and stuff like that. But there's always next year, and I know that the states are super proud and patriotic, so it was awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty big holiday here. And it's also an excuse to get together with people and drink and have a cookout, you know?
We missed
So
out on that one.
it's a good time. But yeah, like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on the show with me. I'm interested in learning more about you and kind of your rugby journey and kind of how you got started with the sport.
Yeah, I think it was quite interesting. Obviously, we don't. Well, I guess yeah, it's quite obvious that football isn't as big in Canada. So I think when you're a teen and you're looking for like a contact sport, I played hockey growing up, but sometimes you needed a sport that like didn't overlap hockey. So football for some schools that would be the sport, and obviously a lot of American teenagers, but it was just rugby. That's really all we had. And, being introduced at a decently young age for North America, I was, yeah, high school grade 9, so about 14 years old. No, it's just such a unique game. And I think that's quite like something that interests me, right? Can't pass forward and pretty much all different body shapes and sizes, right, can compete. So it's quite it's a very like welcoming sport. And yeah, that's when I started, and eventually through high school played and picked it up. Obviously, some friends that don't really like it that much, but no, and now here we are. I guess 12 years later into my rugby journey, which is quite crazy, but it's been awesome.
Yeah, that sounds super cool. And obviously, it's a good time too. I'm sure you met a lot of awesome people along the way that you've played with and everything else too. So that's also what's super cool about being able to be involved with a sport for that long is there's probably
Yeah,
so many people along the way that you meet that you can stay in touch with.
exactly. We were this weekend, obviously with the finals. We're going to Chicago, and there's actually like a wedding of a rugby buddy in Chicago that a couple of the guys were invited to. So we unfortunately can't go to the wedding, but I remember just like chatting with one of the boys that was invited. Be like, it would be it's like actually so hard to invite guys to your wedding, like being a rugby guy, because you genuinely make so many friends. So I couldn't imagine having to make an invite list, and so I'm sure someday that'll come and it'll be tough. But no, there's just a lot of good characters in rugby, and it's just a good sport to be involved in, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And even just from seeing what I saw and going to the games, it just seems like everybody gets so into it who's there, and the fans that are at the games are like super loyal to the sport and just super locked in on everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's unique. I don't know if it's because it's at obviously a lower level than the big professional sports in America, but it's unique just how obviously if everyone in the stadium, at whether you're player, coach, fan, And then eventually after the stadium, everyone is just like on the same page. Like they're all chatting with each other, regardless of if you just played in the game, you coach the game, right? You watch the game. So I think that's what's super unique about it. And even in like Europe and stuff like that, that still happens where fans are chatting with players after the game, maybe at a lower scale because they're not having fireworks or concerts on the field. But I think that is like what's super important in North America, right? Like let's turn this into a festival. Let's have fun with it. Because yeah, it's great for the fans, but you see a lot of players out there listen to music after too, and it's super unique. But no, it's our fans are yourself, right, singing the national anthem. It's awesome, right? So we got to tip our hats to the fans. They keep this thing going, and they're amazing. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm happy to have done my part to contribute because it was definitely a good experience being there, and I definitely would do it again if they asked me to come back next year for sure.
We'll have to push that on to TK and the owners.
Yeah, yeah, let them know. Yeah, that's super cool though. Throughout kind of your experience, at what point did you feel like this was something you really wanted to pursue at the professional level?
Yeah, I think it was quite unique for me because as I was coming out of university, probably lucky for me as well, because I know some guys have had to make some tough decisions coming out of university, obviously having to find a job and whatnot. So in my fourth year of university, we were actually competing as the Ontario Arrows to try and prove that we could play in the MLR when the MLR existed in its inaugural year. So we were actually playing, which was so I kind of had that avenue where it's like, oh, I could do this for a bit after university, where it's I have friends who one particular Rob Brower, he was 36 with 4 kids doing it, right? So in a lot more of a unique situation than myself. So probably a good segue for me where it was like, I can do this, I should have fun, right? You never know what happens in life. To do what you're loyal about. And so yeah, I was like, you know what, let's do this for a while. I didn't know what was gonna happen with it. No one knew what would happen with the league, and kind of took a leap of faith. And it's been amazing. Yeah, it's something it's probably the best memory of my life so far. Just like you said, all the people you meet, and yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing past 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah. That's definitely super cool to hear and just being able to be a part of something like that, especially because you're passionate about it and you love playing. It seems like so to be able to say, this is something that I'm doing at that level now, I can't even imagine like what that feeling probably feels like.
Yeah, yeah. It is quite amazing, honestly. I just think about like kind of the fan base. There's a pretty being that original Toronto Arrows team in the league after we've moved from the Ontario Arrows. We're in the league now, amazing. There was quite a decently big rugby base in Ontario, so you'd get a lot of support kind of branching in. I guess it would be the equivalent of people like driving from like Worcester, or if I said that right, sorry, like far like areas like that and whatnot. So like coming quite far to see a Toronto Arrows game. But it's just been so unique to see and I think honestly, New England has done like a significant job on that. I remember playing them even just 2 years ago, and they played at Union Point, and like it was a good crowd, right, for the MLR for a new league. But what they've done in the past 2-3 years to like have almost 5,000 people out, it's just been a complete 180 of just like the league, right? You see that even with the San Diego Legion, who were playing on the weekend, like they were playing at a very nice university, but it's just like everyone has just kind of like gone up with where they're playing, like the facilities. So just seeing that like change is quite amazing. And seeing the fan base grow, like the odd time if you're like on Instagram or something, you'll see like someone with like a US like an MLR shirt on or something, right? In an ad or there's whether that's coming up just because we follow those people but no, it's quite unique. It's been a very interesting the past couple of years, but it's been really good.
Yeah, one of the other things too that I think is super cool about rugby is just how many international people it attracts and just the presence of diversity that the sport entails. So even within the Free Jacks, like, you know, how really diverse is the team? Like, I'm sure there's probably a lot of people from different countries that are coming to play there.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. Like we have Tongan internationals, Fiji internationals, guys from Namibia, internationals from Namibia, South Africa, America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, right? So it's quite unique in terms of, yeah, you're meeting all these cultures, right? You're learning new lingos, which is quite funny. And then, which is right, because we say A and like New Zealand kind of says A as well.
That's cool.
But even like the culture aspect of it is quite amazing. We've seen a couple hukas this year for some people who aren't playing next year and whatnot. So I think just that and having those guys who've played since they're so young, and help teach domestic players like myself and Kyle Secura, Cam Davidowitz, Mitch Wilson, help them teach us things is amazing, right? Them themselves are good coaches on just little things. But yeah, it's very unique culturally. It's been amazing, right? And it almost makes you. I'm fortunate enough to be going to Tonga later this year with Canada, and I'll be able like some of the Tongan families are coming out to the game, right? Just because we play with their families, and no, it's amazing. It's a very unique sport in terms of like a lot of cultures together, very inclusive. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's good to be able to have those types of interactions too and really learn about people that are from other countries and really learn about their cultures too, because I feel like not everybody gets put in a situation where they can do that. And it's so
Yes.
important to really be able to learn about other cultures and how they do things.
Exactly. No, it's yeah. Yeah, you learn it just learns even the past team I played on with Toronto, it was just and if you ever need somewhere to go or need somewhere to stay and you're in another country, you give one of those guys a shout and it's like you're part of my family. Come on in. You know what I mean? So I think that is like at the end of the day that's such an important part of it. Everyone's family. Everyone gets along, right? You've seen it after the game at Free Jacks game that both teams get together, have a beer together, have a meal together. You probably know someone on another team, right? So it's very very unique. It's yeah, it's just an amazing sport.
Yeah, no, it is cool. It's definitely the dynamic is so much different from
Yeah,
what you would see at other sporting events in terms of just that unity of everybody. And like I mentioned before, that rugby community is
yeah.
just really so much different from just going to, another sporting event in that area.
Yeah, no, I think even some people have posted in like New Zealanders in Boston or Irish people in Boston, right? Stuff like that, even on Facebook, attracts so many, and from there you build friends. Quite like whether it's pretty much on the yeah, it's on the same topic. How we've made pretty good friends with some Quincy firefighters who've helped us out in terms of we made a video with one of our mini teams. Is quite funny, and they come to the games now. You know what I mean? So I think there's just a unique sense of community in that, and pretty down to earth, I'd say as well. I think most guys are down to earth, funny, like to have a good time. So yeah, it seems to mesh well with the Boston community, the Boston vibe.
Yeah, that Boston vibe is a pretty fun one too to be a part of.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's sweet. It's the best city in the league. So
yeah, of course it is. So when it comes to attracting players and the Free Jacks bringing in new players, what is that process like for them identifying players? Like, is there like a scouting process involved like there is with some other sports?
yeah, so I would say, speaking from like a player's side and kind of like what I would think would happen, which is probably on par. We have international coaches who would have who've coached some players that play on our team, right? So they would obviously get in touch with them and say, "Hey, like love your style. Would you like to come play in North America?" Which is talking to like Mitch Jacobson, our captain, and just getting the feeler from him. He's like, "Yeah, like the big ones are like New York, Los Angeles." And like Boston, right? Like all these cities that like they want to go visit. So it's so attractive when you could say you can come play rugby here and visit all these cities, right? Chicago this weekend, New Orleans, you know what I mean? So I think it's unique in that aspect. It would just be like one of us going somewhere to play a sport or for you to do a podcast and be able to like travel around, right? So I think that is it's honestly an important aspect of it too, right? Because you can see the world playing for a team. But yeah, there would be a lot of connections. There is agents, but I would say with the Free Jacks, it's a lot of good connections. True, like people who trust people, and yeah, like there's 40 if there's 41 guys on our team, there's 41 awesome dudes, like amazing guys. So
It's a good
it's
group.
yeah, it's been a well picked group. Um,
Yeah. That's super fun. Um, and so obviously, it's like rugby is such a unique sport and such a different sport, and it kind of combines some skill sets from different sports. So what would you say is the most difficult aspect of the sport?
ooh, I would think like probably being for a forward, so someone like myself, like the expectation is obviously like being able to carry the ball hard and hit hard, but also like having like good like hand skill, like passing skills, and like the catching, yeah, is kind of a given, but like passing skills, like there's some forwards on our team with like amazing passing skills, and it's like you have the potential to play in the backs, which would be like the faster, some more skillful guys, which is quite funny. So I think that's super impressive, and you see that a lot with a lot of our New Zealanders and Aussies who are like very like the forwards are very good with their skills with passing and whatnot. Not so much kicking, but a lot of that's pretty much forbidden forwards kicking. But no, it's that is probably the hardest skill I would say, being a forward. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different skill sets you have to play that sport. It's just so intriguing to me watching a match, and I'm like, wow, these people, like, this requires so much like so many different types of skills, and it's so interesting to watch.
It's the like even like the split decisions are tough. Like because someone will be telling you essentially what type of pass they want, whether you're passing the guy beside you or the guy behind you. So you almost just like them like motor connection from your brain to your hands. You know what it like just like
Yeah.
fast thinking, especially with for some people might be some people have been playing since they're four. Myself, I'm right 8 years behind, type of thing, 10 years behind. So it is like a lot tougher, and some of the boys are just silky smooth with it. You say it, and it's just automatic. So it's super impressive to watch.
Yeah, that's cool for those types of players too. Um,
Yeah.
and so obviously, every off season for every sport kind of looks different. Like for football, they obviously have the organized off season training and all of that. So what does the off season typically look like for you? I know you mentioned obviously this off season you're going and you're playing and representing your country, which I think is super cool. But I would imagine that's not every off season.
Yeah. So well, quite uniquely, the world rugby essentially tries to follow the same schedule. So every July and November there'll be international games. So that's usually when some seasons don't play take place. Some seasons will take place, but like the big major seasons won't take place. So players can or their players are released. Sorry, like you know what I mean. They're essentially they want these players playing in big games. So they'll play in July and November, and so that happens every year. The exceptions are the World Cup year, which is this year. Um, so yeah, again, super fortunate to be able to do that, which is amazing. We're going to Fiji and Tonga, which is it's gorgeous, right? And so because yeah, it's funny. My mom will be like, "Oh, like Fiji will be awesome." Like you must be so excited, and then you're just like, "Oh, like mom, like we were there 3 years ago." You know what I mean? And it's like, "Yo, you've already been there." So it's like we're so fortunate to be able to do that. But off season uniquely for some of our players, they'll go down and play in another league. So essentially, they're finishing this league, probably like yeah, it's been a 6 month season, and then they're arriving to another 3 month season. So it's quite like full on. Honestly, they'll get 3 months off, which will be amazing, but. Moving into December, they'll probably have to start thinking of training again and whatnot. So really, if you're playing with it could not that it's going to go all year, but it's not that there's no off season, but um, it can be a pretty demanding year, and you unfortunately see injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, it's quite a unique schedule where sometimes people's off seasons are at different times. So
Yeah, it kind of just depends on what league you're playing in and what their schedule is.
Yeah, like some of our buddies in Toronto that are coming with us to Toronto, they've been off for 2-3 weeks, so they'll use that to recover and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's unique like that. I like it how they work on a global scale, I guess, in terms of when international games are happening. It's awesome because then like the best players can play. So
Yeah. That's super cool, and also because we kinda talked about this too, but just being able to get a chance to play with other players too, because obviously during, the MLR season, you're playing with your Free Jacks team, but then when you're not in season, being able to just go and continue playing, but just play with a completely different group of people. So that's probably pretty cool too.
yeah, no, it's great. It can be tough. Usually the first week's tough, right? Because you're getting back used to playing with them, and for the guys that are going to go home and play in a 10 game season, it'll be again a little bit of a change. The league will be different and stuff. So yeah, it's like just the beauty of the sport, which where you can play in a couple leagues and try to get it going for the whole year.
Yeah. That's super cool. So even when you're in the MLR season and obviously, you have your matches and everything that, like I said, are super fun. So anyone who's listening, definitely go and check that out when they play next season. But do you guys practice like throughout the week when you're not playing? Because obviously it's different with other sports. Like obviously baseball, they play games every
Yeah.
day. So there's not really practices. So it's like I'm just curious how that works.
Yeah, so it would again, I've never played football, but it would somewhat mimic a football schedule, I'm sure, where there's one game a week. You might play, unfortunately, the Thursday night football game and then have to play on the Saturday next week. So you might get that like mini bye, or it might be roles reversed. But the Sundays are usually off if there's no game, and then the Mondays are quite a more relaxing day, I'll say. Maybe a gym and kind of walking through new plays. And then Tuesday's a pretty big day. Wednesdays are usually off again, depending on when you play. You usually get a day off in the week, which is nice. And then a shorter day Thursday to run through some things, and then Friday kind of just start getting into the game and into the fun stuff. Some people would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would think that would mimic a football schedule, maybe,
Yeah.
because it is
Yeah, it
quite
probably is similar.
yeah, because it is quite a demanding sport, and guys need rest. So yeah, no, it works out pretty good getting a Wednesday or a Thursday off when some of your buddies are working and whatnot, and you're on the golf course at 10 a.m. So yeah, no, it's pretty sweet.
Um, yeah, and I mean, you just said it too. Rugby is a demanding sport, and on your body, I imagine it could be probably pretty taxing. So, what types of things do you have to do to kind of make sure that you're staying healthy to be able to continue to play for as long as
Yeah,
you want to play?
yeah. The club, the Free Jacks are awesome in terms of having like massage resources available. Our physios are really good with needles and acupuncturing and stuff like that. So it is there's just so many resources available for us to use. Um, you can like obviously have the options in gym to take it a little more easy if you can. Pretty much like allowing your body to talk, not just like kind of silencing it and being like, no, 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 I'm gonna lift again heavy today. And our S&C coaches are awesome. If there's something going on, they'll happily modify a program and but yeah, the massage is definitely key. Even if again, like I'll say, walking on the golf course to relax a bit, get the mental recovery in as well. But no, our club does an amazing job taking care of us, making sure there's resources available, all the recovery accessories we need. We're spoiled. We really are.
I mean, that's important. You need to have a staff like that who can take care of everybody and keep you going because obviously it is pretty demanding, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, like having to look after like 40 guys would be tough.
Yeah.
And especially if like injuries will happen, unfortunately. Yeah, so they're just like working tirelessly. They need their time off in between seasons too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's a lot for them too. It's a lot for everybody involved, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Everyone's just got their different work they need to do. It's quite funny, but no, we're spoiled at the Free Jacks. It's awesome.
That's good. It really seems like a great program, honestly, too.
Yeah, the our gym's gorgeous, and yeah, and the guy. It starts with the guys and the people involved. Everyone's everyone's amazing person, and you can get pretty much go out to coffee with anyone in the organization, and you'd have a good time, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, shout out to Alex Magleby. I know him. He's a
Yeah,
really, really nice guy. I always enjoy talking to him when I am at the matches too.
yeah, Mags is awesome. He's just like filled with just like such a unique energy. He's so passionate. Um, yeah, him coming in the locker room singing the song with us after the game. It's a super unique feeling, and he really cares about us and sees us as assets. And so no, yeah, he takes care of us. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, that's good. You definitely want to have that type of environment on a team that you're playing on too, and feeling like you can have those close relationships with everybody that's involved in the organization, not just your fellow teammates, you know?
Yeah, it's tough because like we'll probably some weeks we'll see each other 7 days a week. Like it's
Yeah.
so not that it's and like we're like we are doing work together, right? If someone does something wrong, you'll have to tell them. So not that it can be, yeah, it can be a bit awkward maybe, but like there hasn't been an issue in terms of like, oh, like not like a fight, but you know what I mean, awkward instances. It's like guys are very understanding, and so, yeah, like being able to just to have a simple chat, even if it's not about rugby. Hey, can I talk to you about something on my mind and whatnot? Yeah, it's just it's awesome there, and there's such a good open environment where if you needed to chat to anyone about something, it's there. Resources available, people are available. It's amazing.
Yeah, because ultimately, you're all people before athletes
Yeah,
at the end of the day. So everybody has stuff going on. So being able to, have someone to talk to about even just the external stuff, like outside of the sport, just regular life
exactly.
stuff that we all have is good to have that too.
It's like especially in the quite a demanding um I would say in a mental capacity in terms of like understanding plays and it's yeah, it's a hands-on sport, but might in some circumstances you might have to do a little bit of research on another team. So it can be quite demanding, which is quite interesting if like you explain to someone, oh yeah, like you'll kind of look at other teams and whatnot and have to do your homework, which is unique for some of us that didn't do too well in university. But yeah, no, it's awesome there, and all the guys jive well. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's good. That's exactly what you need, just kind of that family-like atmosphere with everybody that's involved, and it seems like that sport in particular, that really is prevalent. So that's good that you feel that way about, everybody that's involved with the Free Jacks.
Yeah, we've got a couple, which is quite unique. We got a couple families. Potty's got a kid, and so does Paula, which is awesome. The
Oh,
kids come around and whatnot, and they're
that's so
quite
cute.
young. But yeah, no, it is weird that it's cool the different stages of life. Like some people are in, right? Some people are very young, but some people are married and have kids. Some people are married and no, so it's you definitely do get a handful of different, like a mixed bag of people, which is awesome, and it's just super accommodating. TK does a great job, our general manager, in terms of accommodating everyone's needs and whatnot, and it's no, it's a unique experience, definitely.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. How long does a professional rugby career typically last? Obviously, I'm sure it varies based on, injuries along the way
Yeah.
or just circumstantially, but is there like an average amount of time that somebody plays for?
Wow, I would say like professionally, I don't know, like how obviously it would be different in terms of how long. I would say maybe somewhere like 34, 35,
Oh,
maybe
wow.
even like 36. Yeah.
Good amount of
If
time.
they've been quite healthy, like you said, injuries can happen. We're playing Ma Nanu on the weekend, who plays for San Diego, and he's 41. Like he's a New Zealand All Black legend, um, and he's 41 still playing. Like he's quite amazing, which is unique. But I would say, yeah, with the average like of a bit of a couple injuries through the career, maybe like 30. Yeah, maybe I'm a little high there. I mean, I'm
No,
just being optimistic for myself. Maybe I would say, yeah, probably mid 30s would be fair.
it's something to strive for, though, anyway.
Yeah,
regardless.
exactly. Something to look forward to.
Yeah, because obviously it definitely varies based on the sport. Like there's no
Yeah,
way football players in general are able to play as long as like baseball players just because it's so much more physically taxing on their body. And like baseball, obviously it varies too, but I feel like it really just depends on the sport and what you're doing. Just how long you can actually really play for and be able to stay healthy and be effective.
exactly. And I actually think you're starting to see a lot of rugby players retire earlier than they used to, because there's obviously just a lot of like just physical demand and even mentally. There's just a lot of stuff going on in terms of like health, head healthcare, I'd say. Like, so yeah, a lot of players are retiring a little earlier, which is like super important. You have to be in touch with the off field stuff and where you are and in terms of like your life and if you want a second career and stuff like that. So that's super important. But yeah, I would say players are starting to be aware of that, and so it's a tough decision to make, but ultimately an important one. Um, so yeah, I might be with my. I'll have to maybe rethink if I'm going to be going until 35.
Yeah. Like what's the over under on that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be a tough line to put an over under on.
No, but that'd be cool if you could do that though, because that's a pretty long career.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And who know, especially like with like we've vocalized like with where the league's at, like even just in the past 5 years, they've been quite amazing in terms of like how much they've changed. Like we're talking like another 9 years. Yeah, maybe just tag along.
Yeah, and the growth too, really, of Major League Rugby. Because I know even when I was talking to Alex, and he was just talking about just really when MLR started to now, it's just really cool to see just the tremendous growth that's really come with that in the
Yeah,
sport and the popularity of getting fans interested and wanting to come follow it.
exactly. Like you're seeing more registration in smaller rugby clubs, just probably based because there's a professional league. And like you're seeing teams having to make a new stadium, right, for fans and whatnot. Houston, they used to play at a baseball stadium, which was quite cool when we played there, but they made their own facility to make it like rugby dominated. And Utah plays at a gorgeous facility. And so every teams have even had to change where they play just to accommodate more fans, that's super cool. I'm sure that was a for the Free Jacks moving to veterans. That was, I'm sure. Again, I don't really know what Mags was thinking, but I'm sure that had to go with getting the attendance numbers up and whatnot. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, when I came to sing at that last regular season game, I was so impressed by the attendance. There were a lot of people there, and I know they had said it was sold out, and they had sold a bunch of standing room tickets and all that too. And it was cool to see how many people were out there supporting.
It's like 4,700 people, and it's like
Yeah,
we walk down the back there, so you can kind of get the overview of what's going on. And it was like buzzing, like there was like a musician playing and whatnot,
that's
and people are just like, there's just so much energy. You can kind of feel it. You can, when you hear a crowd like far away, you can hear, oh, you're approaching something. That's what it felt like. It was very cool experience. And then you're in the change rooms for 20 minutes, and you come out and it's full. You're like, oh my goodness, this is we're about to let's go here.
yeah. No, that's awesome. Can you explain a little bit about kind of the tournament style play and like what that really looks like the postseason portion of the season? Because I do know you guys are headed to Chicago, like you mentioned, for the championship, but how many rounds really are there in the tournament portion of the season in order to get there?
Yeah, so there would be 3 rounds. The top 3 seeds from each conference make it. Before it used to be two, so it would, after the season, it would mean immediately be a semis and a final.
Okay.
And it would be like the Super Bowl where it's one game, or the NFL where it's one game in the playoffs. Um, so yeah, essentially the top seed will get a bye, and then the two second and third seed will play, and then the winner of that game will play the top seed, and then eventually, obviously, the final. So even that growth in terms of going from the semifinal, just the semifinal, to the final is should just shows how the league is expanding and whatnot. But now we have a quarterfinal, and that top team is gifted a bye week or a prep week, to recover and whatnot. But it is, yeah, it's crucial that it's like one game. Obviously, with the Red Sox and the Bruins, you get 7 games. The one game opportunity is obviously unique, as well with football, and you just have to show up on the weekend and whatnot. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's like a do or die situation. That's why I always really enjoy the NFL playoffs because it's cool that it's just that one game. You either
Yeah.
show up or you don't. And then if not, your season is over. Whereas, like you said, with other sports, like baseball, it's a 7 game series. So you can afford to not play well in one game because then you can always bounce back in the next game. And it's really testing your stamina and your longevity over a series of games. But the one game elimination, it always makes it so much more fun because the intensity is just so much higher.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head with in terms of like do or die. It's the better team on the day wins, and sometimes that's not always the better team. So yeah, it's I wish you could see that a little bit more in more sports, like a one game World Series or a one game Stanley Cup final. Like that would be
It'd be kind of weird to
yeah,
think
it
about
would be right. Yeah, because you're like, oh, okay, like yeah, we got one after this. They got us this time, but it's like no, no, it's over.
Yeah, right. Like in baseball, I can't even imagine that. Like if the Red Sox are like, they don't play well and they go out and they play terribly in the first game of a playoff series, then I'll be like, okay, it's okay. Like there's still more games left. But if the Patriots don't play well, then that's just it. And it's just like such a different type of mentality that I have when I'm watching a Patriots playoff game as opposed to a Red Sox playoff game.
Like a 7 game series, to in hockey could almost take 2 weeks,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah, if
with
it
all
goes
the
all 7 games, it
yeah,
really could.
like and like you got to wait in between games for the next one. Like you're like, what am I doing tonight? Type of thing. Like
Yeah. It's like there's a day or two in between. So they like make you, have that feeling of
anticipation.
like if your team didn't play well and they had a really bad loss, you have to like live with that feeling for a few days before they play again,
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
which is not fun at all. Yeah, so then when you do go to this game in Chicago this weekend, what are kind of, the biggest things that you guys as a team are focusing on heading into that game?
Yeah, in turn, like, would you say like what about San Diego type of thing?
Yeah, yeah. Like what are you guys kind of focusing on from them that you have to kind of do to win the game?
Exactly. They're quite physical, um, which we enjoy being physical as well. But obviously, we know we need to front up in terms of that, and they do have some very dangerous backs in terms of like speed passing, and so our backs are aware of that. In terms of defense, they just need to be pressured and so yeah, no, we are ready to play. The boys are excited, but we know it's going to be like a hard game. They're going to come. Both teams are going to put both chips on the table, and it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting for a lot of us. It's the first time you're playing in a final, which is awesome, and it's an amazing opportunity for us.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So do you watch film on these teams like they do in football where they go into, the locker room and they're watching tape of like this is what this team does well and this is what this team doesn't do well?
Yeah, so you would watch. Yeah, you would have kind of groups that would watch different parts of the team's game and whatnot, and um, yeah, that it is quite unique for someone who, yeah, like a baseball where yeah, you'll know a pitcher and how well he throws, I'm sure, but to review the whole game would be tough because you have a game the next day.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sundays are usually a day for like a little bit of review, and those groups will chat and kind of bring it into existence on the Monday of what you need to do better.
Yeah, like what did we do in this game that could be better
Exactly.
next time type thing.
Exactly. Especially reviewing yourselves is super important. It's I find like watching yourself on video, you feel like it's a lot different than what you think you did. You're like, oh yeah, yeah, I ran like 80 meters there when it was like, nah, you were like ran like 10 meters. It might just be the forwards that think that.
That's tough.
Um, but yeah, no, it's definitely you can see like a unique perspective because you can see obviously you don't have your like tunnel vision. You can see from a bird's eye view, and even some circumstances, which is amazing. No, so it's the resources we have at the facility in terms of video and film is awesome. And it's super important really to the game.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, I'm sure there's some nerves that come with playing in a game of that capacity, especially like you said, since it's a lot of people's first time playing in that type of game. So how do you kind of control those nerves when you are on that big stage and there's a lot of eyes on you and you have to just lock in?
Yeah, I think once you obviously like super nervous the days leading up to it, but like once you're on the field, your like instincts almost kick in. You're like, yeah, like we're good. We know what's going on. Sometimes you like almost wish you could just like start the game, right? But no, it is, I'm sure like a lot of athletes, like you've spoken, like it's just yeah, it's like stressful for a little bit before the game. And then yeah, once you're in the game, it's like, just work your hardest. Good things will happen. Mistakes are also gonna happen, but how do we bounce back from those? So um, yeah, but there's definitely some nerves flowing right now. I'd be lying if there wasn't.
Yeah, no, it's like when I sing the national anthem too,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that's nerve-wracking too, and it's like I'll be like, in my head, like thinking about like, what if I don't this doesn't go well, or like what if I like mess up this or whatever. And then it's like before the games, they have a lot of pre-stuff that they do beforehand, and that's the point where I'm just like, I just want to get this over with because I'm getting so nervous now. But then it's like when I start singing, it's like, all right, this is fine, like I got this. But like it's like that suspense that's like building up
Yeah,
to that moment when it's just like, okay, like I just want to like get this going because like I am way too nervous right now to have to wait longer for this.
like what's gonna happen. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fine, right? Like you're capable of doing it, but it's just the suspense of like the stuff. Oh yeah, no, I
Yeah.
totally know what you mean. Yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah, because it's like every single time I have to tell myself, like, Gabby, you've done this before, like you've sung the national anthem like at things like this before, like take a deep breath, like you'll be okay. But like there's always gonna be nerves every time you do it because every time you do it, it's in front of different people too. So you wanna like you're focusing on like making a good impression on those people that are watching because it's a completely different crowd from the last time.
Yeah, yeah, and for us team as well. So it's I just try not to think about it.
Yeah, right. You have to just block it out, and then when the game starts, it's that's what it is because it's either you're gonna win the championship or you're not.
Yeah, yeah. Don't remind me.
Yeah. So when do you leave for Chicago?
Yeah, we head out tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah, which
Yeah, I was gonna
is
say I didn't think you were there now.
no, 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 no. We head out tomorrow morning, and then come back Sunday. So it's pretty much like most games. You're just in the night before, and then yeah, like if we were to play two West Coast teams, we'd probably stay in a row. Sorry, back-to-back weeks. We'd probably stay the week. But yeah, usually you just come in if it's a game on Saturday, come in on the Friday, and then leave the Sunday.
Yeah, it's probably tough with the traveling, but also since you only play once a week,
Yeah,
it's you do have, when if you go on one of those trips where it's really condensed and you have to travel far, at least when you come back, you kind of have some time to recover from that trip before you play your next game.
exactly. You take up, if you're at home, it's amazing because you're 7 days a week there. But if you're traveling, you only have really 5 days on the of doing stuff like effectively and whatnot because the travel days can be quite long, especially if you're going to San Diego or like Seattle. It's long flights into the winds.
Well, I've never been to Chicago, but I've heard fantastic things about it, so I'm sure it'll be cool to just be there and be able to just see some stuff in the city.
Yeah, neither. Yeah, yeah. So Friday will probably again Friday will be chill, Saturday will be a chill, and then if you're gonna see something, it might be after the game.
Yep.
That is the kind of the tough thing that people are like, oh, in terms of going to see the city, which we are fortunate enough to do sometimes, but sometimes you're just dropping in for a game and flying out. But yeah, I've never been. Again, I've heard amazing things about Chicago. So I'm super excited just to be in the city and whatnot, and a good atmosphere, a good event for it. And Shaq's DJing, I guess the opener, like
Oh,
he's
wow.
opening. Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It's quite unique. So, I got some family coming down, so they're looking forward to that. It's going to be good.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And I'm sure people probably are under the impression that you always get to see so much in all these places, but I feel like sometimes you probably don't really get to see a lot of what's really around because you're like, we just came in for a game and left. Like I didn't really have time to explore.
Yeah, it's tough, especially if like the team plays a bit outside the city. The priority obviously is the game. So if you can get out and see something, we were fortunate enough a couple of years ago to go see Mardi Gras in New Orleans, which was
Wow.
amazing. Yeah,
I've heard that's an experience.
yeah, it was quite an experience. So yeah, like, but sometimes the state it would be the equivalent of Quincy and Boston, maybe. That's probably actually one of the better ones in terms of how far you are to the city. So yeah,
Okay.
no, it can be yeah, it's unique, but again, like the priority is the game, and everyone knows that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm wishing you the best of luck, and I hope you guys go down there and dominate.
no, Gabby, thanks so much. Yeah, we're buzzing. The guys are buzzing for it. I like I'm just yeah, just trying to gather my thoughts and but no, thanks so much. We're really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'll be supporting and rooting you guys on. So don't disappoint. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll be good. It's gonna be awesome. Like you said, things are gonna go our way and we're comfortable with playing it in an important game. So we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I really appreciate you taking the time and hopping on my show today. This was a great conversation. It was cool to just hear from you and really learn some more things about rugby.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, thanks for having me, Gabby. It's been great. Thanks to the Jacks Rangers for reaching out and setting this up. They're quite a bunch, eh? They're awesome.
Yeah.
But
Shout out to
no,
them as well.
yeah, yeah, they're awesome. Um, but no, it's just people like yourself that we need to recognize that are doing stuff like this in terms of getting the word out about rugby because it is quite an amazing sport and it will grow. America has the potential to make it grow, which it is. So no, thanks to you for doing this. This is awesome, and we need more people like you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And thanks for tuning into the show as always, everybody. Don't forget to share it and with friends and family and just continue to support the show because I wouldn't be where I am with this show without all of you supporting. So really appreciate tuning in every week and just really supporting me and my content. So as always, thanks again. I hope everybody has a fantastic end to the week and a great weekend. And I will catch you all next time on the show. Take care.